Welcome to the Made for Your Business channel. This week, we were going to be interviewing a guest. Once a month, we're going to have somebody come in to talk all things tips and tricks and kind of how they got started and things that they've learned along the way. So I'm so excited to dive into this, and it's going to be such an eye opener for everybody. So let's check it out. Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're chatting with Jessica from Same Stars Wellness. It's very fitting that she's my first guest because she was actually my very first client when I started this company. So very exciting. Today we're just going to get to know her a little bit better, know about her business, how she started, where she's going, and all that fun stuff. So I'll let Jessica introduce herself. So tell me a bit about you and your business.
Thanks for having me on, Jess. I own Same Stars Wellness here in Calgary, Alberta, and it is a wellness health company with massage therapy and acupuncture currently, and we focus on having a very inclusive business. So we have the ability to treat patients from all different walks of life, different conditions, moms to babies, to dads, to athletes, to chronic pain patients, and it's pretty great. We have a couple team members. Right now we are completely mobile, but we have been searching for a space, as you know, for 3 years. It's actually very hard to find an accessible space in Calgary, but we are getting really, really close. So we will have a storefront soon.
Yay, so exciting. I find it so funny how we met because it was like I found you through a friend of a friend through a mommy group. And I remember when I started my business, I was like, okay, like who can I reach out to and who can I connect with to get this thing started? And I know you said like I harassed you to get started to work with you. But I remember just checking you out and seeing like all the good things you were doing. And I was just like, this girl knows what she's doing. And you actually came over, did a massage on Claire, you did one on me, and we just like connected right away. I love that. So I'm just so excited that we met and that we're kind of doing this thing together. So
it's nice to have somebody to walk the business road with you. It's so good. I think it's super important, and yeah, stoked.
So fun. So tell me a bit about the moment you had the idea for your business and when you decided to kind of go all in.
I think it comes back to, so I was in Alberta just snowboarding after my undergrad, and then went back to Ontario and BC. Actually, I did my training in both of those provinces, and they are regulated for massage therapy under the Healthcare Act. So they're regulated healthcare practitioners there, and we're not quite there yet in Alberta. And I remember first coming to this province to treat, and there were no companies for people to receive treatments if they had complex conditions, or if they were in a wheelchair, or if they just weren't athletes almost, or a spa. And it kind of dawned on me, like, this is not fair. So after a few years, I just took the leap, and with the support of my husband, who really pushed me, I went out and started my own company because I was determined that everybody in Alberta would receive the care they deserved. So that was it.
I love that. And what are you coming up on, 4 years this year?
4 years incorporated. So I've been an RMT for, I think, 10 or 11 years this year. And then I always did have my own patient base that would follow me from wherever I went to, which is really, really helpful and amazing that people love my treatments. But 4 years incorporating and 4 years changing the business from just me to having a team and having more access for everybody in Alberta to receive the treatments.
I love that. And you kind of had the feeling because you started pre-pandemic, so you knew kind of what was going on, and then you had to face all of that as well, being a service provider. So to come out of that, and now you're flourishing and you're adding a team member and you're looking for a space, it must just feel so good to kind of, had the base of the company and then kind of come out on the other side too.
Yeah. COVID was a lot. So at the beginning of COVID, I had already been sitting on the board of directors for my association as the vice chair for massage therapy in Alberta for 3 years, I think it was 2 or 3 years. So I spent most of the first lockdown that we were actually involved in answering questions from RMTs, advocating for massage therapy, dealing with the legalities, the different restrictions that were coming in and out, and meeting with AHS, etc. So it wasn't like I really got time off, but I think the interesting kind of moment was when we, as massage therapists, were allowed to treat if patients had doctor's notes. So I was hearing from many clinic owners and spa owners that they were really upset about that rule because they weren't busy. Like they were like, we'd rather be closed, where the moment we had that restriction put on us, but we were still allowed to treat, I had an 8-page waiting list because of our patient base, right? Like our patients generally receive care because they're in pain and they need it, or they need treatment so they can still move and their diseases aren't progressing. And kids with anxiety of lockdown and mental health, kind of like, we can treat the physical manifestations of that. So it was very interesting to see how the business that I had created was very, very sustainable, and actually grew a ton during a lockdown. So
Crazy.
it was an eye-opener of like, okay, I went the right route. Just me fighting for people's accessible rights actually turned into something that became successful. So that was pretty awesome.
Yes, I love that. So we've heard a bit about, I can tell just by you talking about your business, but what would you say is your biggest passion in your business?
Inclusivity, for sure. I don't know really why there are barriers still on people that have mobility concerns or have special conditions or have complex conditions. I think it's completely unfair that all people in Alberta can't get that amazing care that they deserve. It's interesting because I myself, like, I have chronic migraine disease, but I'm completely mobile. I deal with a lot of pain days and a lot of days I can't work. But it blows my mind that like not every single store has wheelchair accessibility, or there's people that will actually say like, oh, I can't treat you, I don't know your condition, or aren't safely trained in treating conditions. So inclusivity, number one, hands down.
Love that. So, and I love your passion for it. You can see it in everything you do. So I love that about you from the very beginning. So, what would you say is your favorite part of owning your own business?
Favorite part of owning my own business, probably not getting in trouble if I call in sick.
Oh, yes.
Like it's a bit different. I remember like back in the day when I worked for spas and clinics, like they would actually get so mad at me if I had to miss a day of work. And I actually got suspended once for missing 3 days of work in a month. Meanwhile, I was in the hospital those 3 days with severe migraines. So like I could not leave. I couldn't drive. I couldn't function. I was in a 13 out of 10 pain. Hemiplegic migraines where half my face goes numb and I'm getting suspended. So I know, kind of bizarre, but I think that's my favorite part, is that I also get to create a work environment that is supportive for my team members. So say their kid's sick, or say they're really run down, or they want to learn more and they want to treat people and provide the amazing treatments that we do, then they come to us and they work with us and they get to actually, really grow as therapists, but feel supported at the same time, which is, I think, a good thing of business.
Oh, for sure. Just having that flexible schedule and just having that community. And that's my favorite part too, is just, having that schedule where you can create it and what needs to get done. If you do have those sick days, you can do it when you need to. So I love that.
Yeah. And community. You're right. Yeah. Like I don't even think about that part really, because it's just part of my life now. But looking back, it's like all the people you get to meet and all the people you get to network with, and the different business owners and the parents and different clinics and specialists like that I would never really have gotten to meet and grow myself as a therapist and as a business owner unless took the leap and went out on your own.
Yes, I love that. So what would you say is your biggest challenge of owning your own business? Sure.
So my brain is very science oriented and condition oriented and treatment oriented. One of the biggest challenges that I for sure realized early in on the business when I was bringing on team members was personalities and being more in a leadership role where the therapists are working under me. It was very different than any other leadership roles I've had, where say like at the board level, like I was dealing with board of directors, but with therapists, like me being able to step back and see where they need coaching and kind of phrasing it in my mind as coaching instead of coming down hard on them or criticism. Like I would automatically jump to, I don't want to criticize them, but really it was, you're coaching people. So, and not everybody does things the way I do. And I don't think many people do things the way I do. And I know that. So taking that into consideration when growing a team was definitely something that I found a challenge.
Yeah.
But it's really fun and I love it now. But it was quite a learning experience for me.
For sure. Yeah. It's just something new, right? You've never really done it before. So you have to kind of figure out on the way how you're going to work through it and how it all comes together. But you're obviously doing an amazing job because you have some amazing team members and you keep growing. So yeah,
Try.
that's a great place to be, I'm sure. So what would you say is your favorite self-help or organization tip?
Oh man, well, you know me. Organization when we met was definitely not my strong suit. I still find it challenging to put time in my schedule to organize. Like it will forever be on my to-do list. And yeah, definitely honoring that and being like, okay, you have to make time to plan. In specifically though, I think what we're doing with the accountability and what we do with our 12 weeks, like we do it on a 12-week platform, but like having that checklist. So building our goals, breaking down our goals, and then having that checklist, like it's a game changer for me. I can keep track of what I need to be doing every single week, but also little steps towards goals. And I think having somebody there to hold you accountable it's so important because at the end of the day, you're on your own as a business owner. Like it's just me and my team, but I'm the owner, right? Like my husband has a completely different job and I never ever wanted him to have half the business because it's stressful, right? Like I want my marriage and my family and then I want my business. So I think like having another person, another business owner, a coach, a group, something like that, and actually having the tracking system is by far my biggest tip for anybody that's going to start a business or is in the middle of it.
Yeah. I love that. I agree. Just having that check-in with somebody and that weekly accountability and just having it all laid out in front of you, it makes those steps so much more attainable when you can kind of check in and you give yourself the little check marks or, you have your wins and your struggles throughout the week and you kind of make it fun for yourself too. So it's not just this huge task. So yeah, I'd have to agree. It's been fun to see like where we started, where we're going, and it's like a little diary along the way. So
right, like at the end of Q1 we were like, oh, like we were both kind of like at that last week we realized like, okay, like it's always a bit of a struggle that last week, but then when we sat down and like went back and we're like, check, like look at what we did. Where before I started tracking this and holding myself accountable, it was more like on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. Like I'm not getting any traction. It's like looking back, it's like, no, like I did a lot and I deserve a high five. Weekend away. I'm out. But yeah, I think like it's pretty cool to see that. And yeah, you can't, I don't know. I just not the person that could do it by myself. Like you need somebody to like bounce ideas off of. You need somebody to kind of decompress with. And yeah, it can be lonely in business. Like it's not my team members' job to hear about my struggles. I don't think that fosters a very good team. They're probably like, oh dear. So yeah, like having that and definitely knowing like it's not just me. Like if it's just me that I'm supposed to be respecting in my schedule, like that's not a thing. We'll work on that. We're supposed to be working on that this quarter. But when it's like, oh, I didn't do my checklist, I have a meeting with Jess. Should probably do the checklist.
Right. Yeah. I got to check in because she's not going to be.
I'm going to look like a failure. No, it's I love it. Definitely important though.
Yes. Okay. So what would you say is your biggest woo thing in your business? That's been a game changer for you.
I was going to make fun of your crystals, but I'm not going to do that.
That's a new thing for me. Okay.
I love it. Hey, I have mullahs. So I don't like, now that I think of it, like I can't even call it woo. Like I kind of feel like a jerk calling it woo, but the mindset.
Yeah.
So like a couple years ago, I was in a business group and I remember like they kept pushing mindset at us and like literally like yelling at us, like, you got to change your thinking, change the way you talk about things. And I'm like, this is stupid. It's not. Now that I've really invested in it, and I spent a lot of time over the last 6 months actually changing the narrative around, say, my struggles, like, well, I shouldn't even call them struggles, like, but like with my migraine condition, and or with not being able to find the perfect team member, and I would come at it and I didn't even realize like it was always so negative. So it was really kind of like this loop in my brain of everything was coming out negative. And then I was working with my coach and she would start like, nope, stop, change the language. I want you to change the language. So I would write things down, and instead of like, oh, I really suck at numbers, it's like, I'm becoming better with my QuickBooks, or I'm becoming better with tracking my sales. And like, there isn't a perfect therapist. There aren't any in Alberta. Well, the perfect team member doesn't exist, but somebody that wants to help people that I can coach into an amazing therapist does exist. And it's kind of crazy because in my brain, I'm like, well, I'm not like, just this person's not just going to show up out of like thin air, but it starts to open up your eyes to the possibilities, and it starts, it changes your mindset. So instead of having that constant block of like, no, you cannot do this, this sucks, it's, I'm getting there, this is possible, and I'm going to do it. And honestly, it's not woo. Some days I still like have my moments, but I catch myself and I'm like, no, that is a waste of my time to be raging. Like, raging is, I don't have a lot of energy some days, and we are not giving it to the rage.
Yes.
So honestly, it works, and it's not woo.
I love that. I love it. Because it is so important, especially like in the small business world, because you have so many things coming at you. You kind of got to just stay focused. And I find like owning your own business is such a good way to bring in the self-help and to work on yourself. Like, it's been the biggest game changer for me, really figuring out who I am, looking after myself, because you need to in order to run a business and have team members and all the things. So it's been, I love it. And I love the mindset switch, and just knowing you too, like, and seeing the growth that you've come through is amazing. It's so cool to see, and just like think of where it's gonna go, right?
Right. I know. And it's so funny because I actually use it with my team members now. Like in one of my last kind of KPI meetings with one of my team members, like I literally interrupted her every 2 seconds and I was like, change the language around that. Like, we were talking about rebooking patients and having them on treatment plans. And it's like it was so funny to hear myself being like, no, like, switch it to a positive. You're a healthcare provider. And I was like, who am I?
What's happening?
I just would have been like, well, if you can't do it, bye. And now I'm like, totally. No, and it works. Like, she went out and like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So
I got this.
Like, and like that boils down to like taking care of myself and knowing where I needed growth, right? Like investing in my coaching, because I knew like I'm really good at like quote fixing people, and I can see people's muscles and they can walk and I can tell them what's wrong with them. It's really weird. But I was not meant to be somebody's psychologist. I struggle with that. I struggle with like emotions, and I know that, and it was always like, oh, I need to change. And it was like, well, no, I just need to focus on myself too, right? And paying for coaching, like, invest in yourself and take care of yourself. Like, it's interesting to see how our goals have changed just in the past 2 quarters, to go from everything business to like half of it now is like, how do we take care of ourselves and how do we grow ourselves? Because like we need to grow for our businesses to grow. So all the stuff, so many things all the time.
I love it. Okay, so for our final question, what would you say is your best business tip for business owners, maybe just starting or that have been in business for a while, but just what would you say is your best business tip?
Okay, I have two that go hand in hand. One is to like invest in your company right off the bat. Let the experts do what the experts do. I see, especially in our world of massage therapy, and a lot of people go out on their own, and it's maybe like they don't want to have all of the moving pieces of like a booking system and some sort of marketing and a professional website, but to grow, like you need that. People need to trust the business that they're going to, and it needs to look professional. It needs to be a professional business. And if you spend 90% of your time in the background learning how to build a website or learning how to do your QuickBooks and messing around, like I've had three websites, we've had to redo every single thing every step of the way, because when I started, there wasn't really like, there was virtual assistants were kind of really becoming a thing. And I was like, oh my God, I can ask you to do this stuff and I can offload it, like stay in your realm of expertise and let other people do that stuff, because it's going to waste your time. And then in the end, when you have to redo everything, it's going to waste your money. Because like focus on what you're best at. And the other part of that is pay for coaching. It's interesting because before I hopped on, there's a lot of Facebook groups for RMTs and different clinic owners, and the questions are always on there. And like, that's really great if you're looking for free advice. But the amount of people that ask for free advice is actually insane. And it's like, do you know how much money I've spent on coaching and to get a virtual assistant to do that stuff for me and to show me how to do it? And just when people expect you to like pretty much give them all the tools for free, I'm like, you're not investing in yourself. Like, get yourself a business coach. Get somebody to teach you how to start the business, ask a mentor, but like know that they've spent a lot of their time. They've made a lot of their own mistakes and they've spent a lot of money getting to that space. So for the love of God, don't expect everything for free.
100%. You got to invest in yourself and your business if you want to go anywhere.
Like you don't know what type of advice you're getting for free. Generally, it's not good. And I think that's like, oh my God, that's what I see the most on those groups is like, you're asking an Alberta group about business licenses. What city do you live in?
It's different everywhere.
Person have that's answering your question. I'm like, and then it's kind of funny because I do offer like mentoring calls for starting a mobile business or starting a small clinic or even working with special pathologies. And it's like, as soon as you say like, here's my price and it's cheap. Like, oh, well, I just was hoping to ask you some questions. I'm like,
and
right?
It's like, no, you need to invest to get that information because these people are ahead of you and they've been through the things. So in order for you to get that information, like, and I find too, when I pay for something, I'm all in. If I get free information, I'm like, well, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't, right? But if you're paying for that, you're going to do the thing. So I agree. I think that's so important. And I think having a coach has changed my business so much too.
Huge.
So
like
I
you
totally
just take leap. You're like, okay, I'm going to do this. And somebody's holding you accountable, right? And it's
all about,
it's kind of hard because like, I love like my big thing is like, okay, let's make all the therapists and all the companies accessible and better and bigger, because then that essentially is going to make all Albertans have better care. Like that's always my main thing, but we need to invest in it. And it sounds like a rant when I'm like, oh my God, you don't want to pay me for that, but it's not. It's just the way it is. And it's kind of funny because it's like, I get a little bit cranky on that one. But that's my advice.
No, and I totally agree. And I think, just getting that help from somebody who's kind of more far along from you and being willing to put the investment in. Because otherwise it's just not gonna stick. So
and like it's kind of funny because now when I approach people that have bigger businesses than me or say work with a different patient population, like the first thing I'll do is like, hey, let me pay you for your time.
100%.
Right now that I'm here in that space, I don't have an hour. And I feel bad, but I don't. Like between like if I'm down 20 days of the month, like I have a lot of stuff to do in 12 days.
Yeah.
Or even on good months, like I would like a day off, but like that's not the reality. Like I still have my own patients. I have my therapists who
Yeah.
get all the access to me. I've got my own meetings, trying to find a space. I got to show up for our meetings. I got to do that checklist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't have that. So I know that they definitely don't have that then. So I'm like, let me give you money.
Yes.
Give me some advice.
Yes.
And yeah, and I think when I approach it like that, like sometimes if I have 2 minutes for sure, I'll answer somebody's question, but
Yeah.
please let me pay you if I want your
100%. Yeah. I'm like that too. I'm like, okay, I want to talk to this person. I'm going to say, like, just check in, like, okay, how much is your hourly rate or whatever. So, no,
right.
I totally agree. It's
Because
all
like
just,
my hourly rate is way cheaper than you making a massive mistake on your taxes
yes.
or having your business struck per se,
Yes.
or not gaining clients or patients. I'm like, it's actually
Yeah.
pretty cheap.
Yeah. So yeah, I would have to agree. Just yeah, getting that training, getting those mentors and just yeah, investing in your business is huge.
Right. And I honestly think though the accountability, because that can come
Yes.
with the accountability. Like
Yeah.
get on board. You can't do it alone. And
Yeah.
if you are doing it alone, it is lonely. And
Yes.
your partner, your spouse, your parents, they probably don't want to hear you talking about business every single day.
100%.
And like that was huge with me, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
man, he just or he tried to give me advice. And I'm like, no, get on board, get some accountability,
Yeah.
get yourself a goal list and go get those goals and
Yeah.
get some help.
Yes, exactly. I love that. Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy girl. I love you so much and I love kind of what we've created. And I just appreciate you so, so much. So I'm
Makes
like
me
gonna
more.
cry, right?
Right.
Um, so yeah, thank you again. And this was great. I had such a fun time and we will be chatting soon, actually right now to go do our goals.
Bye guys.
Okay. Thanks, Jess. Bye.